Guys, as you may or may not know, the latest news is that Parker Finn's 2020 short film, Laura Hasn't Slept, has been turned into a full-length horror movie called Smile. But did you ever know that this change has come with lots of new interesting facts that revolutionize the entire horror movie? Well, only time will tell, but anyway, here are 10 interesting tidbits and details that every fan must now know about the movie. First and foremost, it is important to know that the film is written and directed by Parker Finn. The film Smile was written and directed by Parker Finn, who also wrote and directed The Ring and The Grudge. The film tells the story of a group of friends who travel to a small town in Maine to investigate a series of strange deaths that have been occurring there. The town is home to a mysterious creature known as the Smile, which is said to be responsible for the deaths. The group of friends must work together to find out what the Smile is and how to stop it before it kills them all. The film has been praised for its suspenseful and scary scenes, as well as its unique take on the horror genre. The second fact that you probably didn't know is that Smile is actually about trauma. As we all know, there's nothing as scary as trauma. As the Halloween season kicks off, the feature debut of writer and director Parker Finn, Smile, has hit theaters, bringing an authentically unnerving atmosphere and some of the most terrifying scares of 2022. The well-written screenplay utilizes traditional horror elements while still introducing something innovative. And this is due to the distinct malevolent spirit of Smile, who is a manifestation of pain and hops from person to person while scouring for new targets. The third fact worth noting is that Smile can be quite confusing if you have no concrete flow of the plot. As Smile's antagonist has the power to modify the cognition of its victims, the conclusion of the film may be ambiguous to viewers on their first viewing. Dr. Rose Cotter, Sosie Bacon, experiences extreme mental exhaustion due to the persistent attacks of malicious force, thus making it difficult to tell apart reality from illusion. This is something that makes the plot of this movie quite confusing and difficult to understand by the audience. Another horrifying fact is that the persistent trauma in the movie is an evil spirit and is the primary reason behind the chronic suicide cases in the film. First, Dr. Rose Cotter, a psychiatrist, is tormented by terrifying visions after she observes the horrific suicide of a patient. Laura, Caitlin Stacy, before ending her own life with a shard from a flower vase. Laura revealed to Dr. Cotter that a malevolent force was pursuing her wherever she went. Consequently, when Rose began to experience the same kind of visions, she determined to look into what was happening. It turns out that Rose is plagued by dreadful trauma, which is symbolized in the film Smile by a supernatural being that terrifies its victims until their mental stability is compromised. When the person is too fearful to keep the entity at bay, it takes control of their body and forces them to commit a gruesome suicide in the presence of somebody else. The witness then becomes the next target of the entity, and the malevolent spirit continues to exist so long as it can spread the trauma from one person to the next, detrimentally affecting their mental well-being in an endless cycle. Although suicide may appear to be the only option, there's another path to freedom from the entity's control: the conscious decision to scar another person's mind. During the investigation of the entity, Rose contacted Rob Morgan, the only individual who had endured after being traumatized. Robert was incarcerated for homicide after butchering a woman in the most terrible way he could think of before an observer who was not guilty. The creature of Smile, content with Robert's offering, jumped to the new spectator rather than executing the current host. Thus, Rose had two choices: wait for the creature to take over and murder her, or murder another human being. But instead, Rose chose to confine herself in a detached house and face her trauma head-on. Another fact is that Rose destroyed the evil entity once and for all and brought an ultimate end to it. Rose is an exceptionally gratifying experience for Smile because she had already gone through a great deal of emotional suffering before seeing her patient pass away. When she was only 10, Dr. Cotter experienced her mother, Dora Kiss, taking her own life after combining prescription medication and alcohol. This occurrence had a tremendous influence on the psychiatrist's life, motivating her to select a profession where she could assist others encountering mental health issues. When Rose faces her trauma, she isolates herself in the house where her mother passed away, which is now dilapidated reunited after being neglected for years, the malicious spirit of Smile assumes the appearance of Rose's mom and compels her to relive the incident that shaped her destiny. Rose discovered her mother was still alive, yet instead of getting assistance, she ran away, leaving her mother to die alone. This is why Rose feels so much remorse and is so dedicated to her patients. Even though Rose is accountable for her mother's passing, she was just 10 years of age at the time and was frequently terrified of her mother's unpredictable conduct. Presently, she comprehends the human mind and knows her mom required help. In any case, she can no longer accuse her more youthful self of a choice made out of dread. Subsequently, Rose chooses to relinquish her injury and pardon herself, trusting that would debilitate the presence that frequents her. Shockingly, the apparition responds, changing her mother into a huge and deformed beast. However, Rose chooses to battle back, knowing the injury just exists inside her mind. In their last standoff, Rose is triumphant, obliterating the creature for eternity. The next horrifying fact is that it's the entity that made Rose separate from her ex-boyfriend Joel. After Rose manages to terminate the entity's hex, her first move is to drop in on her former partner Joel, Kyle Gallner, who had been providing her with assistance throughout. She informs Joel that she had decided to cut ties with him as she felt exposed to him by her side and did not want anyone to become too attached after the incident with her mom. But now that she has pardoned herself, she's willing to express her regrets and recognize the suffering she caused Joel. Rose's affliction subjected her to torture, but at the very least, it forced her to take on her history and mend former hurts. Or did it? As Rose believed she had escaped the presence, Joel began to grin. Everything about her vanished, and the psychiatrist understood she had never left her mom's former residence. The being was tormenting her for the last time before it took control of her body. Another shocking fact is that the entity repossesses Rose and targets Joel as its next customer, and this causes worry and confusion. When Joel, who was willing to save his previous flame, arrives, the entity takes its chance to possess Rose's mind. His presence allows the being to take the life of Rose while Joel watches, ensuring the curse spreads even further. The creature manipulates Rose's body to set the psychiatrist ablaze with gasoline. A twisted smile on her face as her body is reduced to ash, Joel is left emotionally damaged, and he soon becomes the entity's next target. Ultimately, there is no escape from trauma. The next fact, unknown to many, is that Smile solidifies Susie Bacon as one of a featured headliner. Susie Bacon stars as Dr. Rose Cotter, a clinical psychiatrist employed at the emergency psychiatric unit. One day, a new individual arrives and earnestly requests that Rose believe her when she discloses that she is being pursued by a sinister entity, threatening to take her life. Tragically, the patient ends her own life just after Rose and the doctor begin to experience visions of her own. I had the opportunity to talk to Bacon and her co-stars Jesse T. Usher and Kyle Gallner about the making of the movie. Smile, which is due to be released in cinemas nationwide on September 30th, the conversation centered around the fact that Smile marks Bacon's very first lead role in a feature film. Last but not least, Smile is packed with deeply unsettling visuals and jump scares which add to the film's absolute value. There's a sheer abundance of unsettling visuals, jump scares, and more in Smile, leaving little to no room for Rose and Susie to catch their breath. Bacon needs to maintain her performance from start to finish for the movie to be successful. Usher expressed his admiration for Bacon's unwavering commitment to the role, noting how it's incredibly difficult to stay focused and authentic take after take. Considering the level of difficulty playing the role of Rose requires, it is reasonable to question how an actor can give an outstanding performance while also looking after themselves. Bacon confessed she did not prioritize self-care, but clarified why the typically suggested forms of it were not practicable. Anyway, guys, we would love to hear your thoughts on what you believe are important facts that fans of horror movies have not yet known about Smile. Also, feel free to share your thoughts on what you feel we left out. And lastly, remember to subscribe and like our content for more like these. Cheers, and see you next time.